All right, everybody, we're going to start checking out these live odds for all these fights. The main card, Izzy is a favorite at minus 130, which is pretty interesting considering how much power Alex Pereira has. Plus 110, that's not a bad bet. And then we go to Gilbert Burns and Jorge Masvidal. Masvidal is a plus 325 underdog. Gilbert Burns at minus 425. Man, I don't know who's laying the juice at minus 425. That is just craziness. This is a fight that really interests me. If you can do that, Jorge Masvidal to win within distance. Yeah, Jorge Masvidal win by KO or TKO at plus 475. That's a really interesting bet. I like that bet. And Gilbert Burns by decision at plus 150. That's an interesting bet too. I like that. But my favorite bet of the week is definitely that favorites parlay where we do Adrian Yanez, Kevin Holland, and Raul Rosas Jr. For $100, you can win $207. That's pretty awesome, considering you got three really big favorites. 100 to win 200. I can dig that for sure. But I've been watching some tape on Rosas Jr. and Christian Rodriguez. And Rosas is definitely a lot bigger than Christian Rodriguez, and I think his grappling is really gonna, shine in this fight. But Rodriguez is a pretty tough guy. I mean, he fought Jonathan Pearson. It was a really, really good fight. He has really good elbows in the clinch. He's got nice knees. He was doing flying knees. He's got all different kinds of tools to make things difficult for Rosas Jr. I think Rosas Jr.'s only path to victory is like by submission, right? And Christian Rodriguez has a lot of different ways he can, if he could keep this fight on the feet, it's going to be a lot closer than people think. And I think that reflects in the odds. Rosas Jr. minus 250. Christian Rodriguez is a dog. I mean, he landed some really big shots on Rosas Jr. And then we're going to go on to the Rob Font Adrian Yanez fight. Adrian Yanez is coming in at minus 180 right now. Rob Font plus 150. I mean, Yanez is a really, really, really good fighter. And Rob Font is as tough as they come. He's got a really good jab. His boxing's pretty good. But, I mean, I think he'll be 37 in September or something. So he's, a little bit older. Another bet that I'm looking at is Kelvin Gastelum and Chris Curtis. If you go to some of the prop bets, we're going to go this fight go into decision. Let's see what these odds are. Yeah, over 2.5 rounds is coming in at minus 240. Which is okay odds. But Kelvin Gastelum has lost like 5 out of 6. I do like Chris Curtis straight up at plus 115. I mean, that's an interesting parlay if you parlay him at plus 115. And then you can put him with Alex Pereira. You do Chris Curtis at plus 115 and Alex Pereira at plus 110. $100 bet will win you $351. That's a really sneaky bet. I think Chris Curtis, he's won, 3 out of his last 4. He's more on an upward trajectory, and Kelvin Gastelum hasn't fought in a while. He hasn't looked good in a really long time. Let's see here. Kelvin Gastelum is 16-8. He is a little younger than I thought. He's only 31, but he's lost, 5 out of his last 6 fights. The only fight that he won was against Ian Heinisch. And he just lost to Jared Cannonier, Robert Whittaker. And all of his fights, what is it? 5 out of his last 6 fights all went to decision. So if you could parlay this fight going to decision with some of your other favorites, you can get a little more juice on your odds. But yeah, Kelvin Gastelum lost to Adesanya, Darren Till, Jack Hermanson by heel hook. He did get a decision win over Ian Heinisch, and then he just lost to Robert Whittaker and Jared Cannonier. So Chris Curtis coming in at plus odds is a really sneaky bet. I like that bet. And if we're looking through these other odds, I mean, Joe Pyfer at minus 190 is not bad. Gerald Meerschaert, he's coming in at plus 159. Meerschaert he is straight up a jiu-jitsu submission guy. That's only his real path to victory. Joe Pyfer is a little more, dynamic of a fighter. He's coming in at minus 190. So it looks like Masvidal's odds just came down from 325 to plus 300. So looking at the main card again, we got Israel Adesanya minus 130, Alex Pereira at plus 110. We got Masvidal at plus 300. Gilbert Burns is minus 400. Adrian Yanez is coming in at minus 182. Rob Font is at plus 150. Ponzinibbio is at plus 195. I mean, I was looking at some of Ponzinibbio's tape. I mean, 3 or 4 years ago, I think Ponzinibbio wipes the floor with Kevin Holland, but I don't know right now. I mean, Kevin Holland hasn't looked great either. But I really do. I don't know why. I have this feeling that Masvidal is going to win this fight. He's on his home turf. He looks more motivated than I've ever seen him. Masvidal at plus 475 to win by KO is a really interesting bet that I like. Even if you throw like $20 to win 95, that sounds, pretty juicy on a really small bet. And if you want, you can parlay Masvidal by. I don't think he's going to win a decision. I think he's either going to finish him or he is going to lose a decision. So if we parlay Jorge Masvidal to win by TKO or KO plus 475. We do with some favorites. We go with Rosas Jr. And then maybe we do the Adrian Yanez fight. Ooh, man, that's a killer bet. So if we do Jorge Masvidal by KO at plus 475 and Adrian Yanez and Raul Rosas Jr. to win by decision, we get plus 1,150 odds. So a $100 bet can get us $1,147. I do like the Yanez Rosas Jr. parlay too. That's a really simple parlay. It's a really nice bet. For two favorites to get plus odds, a $50 bet, 50 to win 58. I like that bet. If we do Adrian Yanez at minus 182 and Rosas Jr. at minus 250, if we do a little parlay with them, we get plus 120. So that's a really great bet. It's a simple bet, but I think it'll be a winner for sure. I love Yanez and Rosas Jr. to get victories. They both have pretty, clear paths to victory. I like that bet. But Alex Pereira at plus 110, man, if we did that bet and we did the Jorge Masvidal to win by TKO, so we're doing Rosas Jr. at minus 250, Alex Pereira at plus 110, and we go down the Masvidal to win by TKO or KO at plus 475. So that $100 bet can win you almost $1,600. So we do Masvidal to win by KO, and then Rosas Jr. and Alex Pereira just to win. Rosas Jr. is coming in at minus 250 and Pereira's at plus 110. So $100 bet, $1,600. Even if you throw $20 on that bet, it's pretty, $20 to win 320. It's a pretty dope bet. And I do love adding that Kelvin Gastelum, Chris Curtis to go to decision. If you can add that to some of your parlays, I definitely think this fight's going to go to a decision. I can't see it. Over 2.5 rounds is minus 240. So if we add that and we do our 4-leg parlay, so we have Masvidal at plus 475 to win by TKO, Kelvin Gastelum and Chris Curtis over 2.5 rounds, and then Raul Rosas Jr. at minus 250 and Alex Pereira at plus 110. A $20 bet would win 458. I like that bet. Because I definitely think that Gastelum Chris Curtis fight is going to a decision. Let's see. Chris Curtis is a decision machine as well. He's 35. He's a little up there in age. Kelvin Gastelum's 31. But he won. He beat Buckley in the second round by KO, and then he had a decision with Hermansson and another decision with Rodolfo Vieira. And then he beat Brandon Allen by TKO and Phil Hawes by TKO. And then Kenny Robertson was another decision. And Kelvin Gastelum was not a guy who gets finished easily. He can take an absolute beating, like that fight with Israel Adesanya. And Chris Curtis isn't putting it on Gastelum like Adesanya did. So, I'm just going to run off all Kelvin Gastelum's last fights. Jared Cannonier decision, Robert Whittaker decision, Ian Heinisch won by decision, and that Hermansson fight, he got caught with a heel hook in the first round. We're going to throw that one out. And then he went Darren Till decision, Adesanya decision, Ronaldo Sosa decision. This guy's a decision machine. So I really think that this fight at, over 2.5 rounds, minus 240, that's like a great bet you want to add to some of your parlays. It's not the best juice if you're just doing it by itself at minus 240, but I like that to add to parlays. And as far as the undercards are concerned, I do like the Michelle Waterson, Luana Pinheiro fight. I think Pinheiro, she's 10-1 in the UFC at minus 165 odds. Michelle Waterson over her last couple of fights has looked pretty over the hill. I think she's, maybe got a couple fights left, and then she's going to call it a career. But it'll be really interesting to watch this Raul Rosas Jr. and Christian Rodriguez fight. If Christian Rodriguez can keep this fight standing, he has a chance to win. Rosas Jr. striking is not really good. It's mediocre at best. His jiu-jitsu is really good. And if you watch the standoff, he's a lot bigger than Christian Rodriguez, so he's going to be able to use that leverage for his submissions. But he's got to get him on the ground. He looks a lot bigger than Christian Rodriguez, but Christian Rodriguez, if he can keep it on the feet, he's got really good knees, great elbows in the clinch. He's tough. He landed a lot of big shots against Jonathan Pierce, who's a really good fighter. So, it's a big step up in competition. I think Rosas is 7-0, and I think Rodriguez is like 8-1 or something like that. So, it's a battle of two guys that are really, really, on the up and coming upswing. If Christian Rodriguez can take this shot away from Rosas Jr., he's going to get himself a really big fight next. And then the Kevin Holland, Santiago Ponzinibbio. I originally was thinking I got to lay a lot of money down on Kevin Holland because Ponzinibbio, he's looked old. He's looked tired. He just hasn't looked like himself back when he was like in 2017 when he was like smashing everybody. He took that 2-year layoff, and he just hasn't really been the same fighter ever since. And at minus 240, Kevin Holland's like getting in. He's like starting shit with everyone. He got in the altercation with Masvidal in the hotel. So, where's his head at in this fight? He just seems like he's so aloof about fighting. He'll fight. He doesn't really give a shit. He wants to give a shit, but he pretends like he does, but he doesn't really care. He's just, I don't know. At minus 250 or 240 he's at now. I don't know. Maybe Ponzinibbio by decision is an interesting bet. I don't think he's going to finish. I don't think he has the ability to finish Kevin Holland at this point in his career. But let's see if we can find the odds for. Okay, so Santiago Ponzinibbio in round 3 or by decision is at plus 400. So I don't hate that bet at all. If you can do, if you want an underdog bet, I don't think Ponzinibbio can finish Kevin Holland, but I do think that he can win by decision at plus 400. I like those odds. Yeah, there's a few like really big underdog bets that have become more interesting as the weeks moved on. I originally thought Kevin Holland was just going to walk through Santiago Ponzinibbio, and if that happens, I wouldn't be completely surprised. But I do think that he seems a little distracted. Like I don't know how seriously he's taking this fight. And Ponzinibbio is a dangerous guy, man. If you're gonna think he's gonna be a walk in the park, you got another thing coming. And then we move on to Rob Font and Adrian Yanez. Rob Font is definitely one of my favorite fighters in the UFC, but he's getting up there in age a little bit. I think he's going to be, 36? He's 19-6 in the UFC. He's 35. He'll be 36 next month. 19-6 record. He's a little bit smaller. I mean, they look pretty even. They're both around 5'8". I think Giannis has a little bit of a reach advantage. So Rob Font has recently lost to Marlon Vera and Jose Aldo, and then he fought Cody Garbrandt to a decision, who has not looked really good, and then he's got a win over Marlon Moraes. Marlon Moraes has been – anyone that fights Marlon Moraes is getting a win. He looks terrible. He just lost again in PFL to leg kicks. I mean, those wins over Cody Garbrandt and Marlon Moraes, at first glance, they look like pretty good wins, but then you've watched those two guys fight over the last couple of years, and they're just not nearly as quality fighters as a guy like Adrian Yanez is. I think Adrian Yanez has the ability to be a champion at that 135 weight class. Adrian Yanez is currently 16-3. He's 29. He's hitting that prime of his career. I mean, look at all those wins. I think he's got 9. His last loss was back in 2018. So he hasn't lost in going on 5 years. He is a TKO KO machine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of his last 6 fights have all ended in TKO or KO. Rob Font is a really hard guy to get out of there, so I don't know if I love the TKO bet. But just for shits and giggles, let's check out what the odds are. Adrian Yanez to win by decision is at plus 235. Adrian Yanez by KO or TKO is at plus 150. That's not the best odds, considering, he's at minus 182 now, plus 150. I mean, that's not a huge jump. I don't love that. I'd rather just bet the fight straight up or add him to like one of my parlays. But last week, we nailed our bet with the Holly Holm fight going over 2.5 rounds, and the Chito Vera Corey Sandhagen fight also going over 2.5 rounds. I wish I would have laid down a decision on both of those and got crazy good odds. That would have been an awesome bet. But Jorge Masvidal to win by TKO at plus 475. You can't really beat that. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to our little live stream about some of our bets. I'm going to put out another betting video later this afternoon, so check that out, and we'll catch you guys on the next fight.